Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning. Latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. Showing from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice. Rise and shine. It's another day, another beautiful day. And of course, we're here on VOP television. This is VOP This Morning. I'm Moses Humphrey, here with the team. How you guys doing?
We're good.
Well, we're doing well.
Yeah, very much well.
It's so a very unnatural thing to just go here with the team.
I think we need to get a handshake for that. What do you say about that? The team handshake.
So what's up with you guys?
Very much well. Trying as much as we can actually to survive. I learned this morning that it's more like we're having a partial grid again, grid collapse again.
Oh, yes.
And what I want to ask, what is really happening? I hope that's the truth.
Seventh time this year.
2024.
You know, and it's
And the Minister of Power is saying power. Interesting.
Oh, come on, David.
David. All right, I'm Fina Okechukwu, and Bidi, welcome to today's show. And still the breakfast show, VOP This Morning on Voice of the People Television. Like I always say, grab yourself a cup of coffee and then join the moving train as you enjoy the fascinating, information we'll bring to your table this morning.
Oh, well, David Edwin saying good morning to you wherever you're watching us from. So now, depending on the time, you might just be late in the night or maybe some early hours of the morning. But then we bid you welcome to VOP This Morning. And again, like I always say, words of affirmation, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful day. And we urge you to stay here with us, be a part of this conversation. How best do you do that? Go straight to our YouTube page. On YouTube, we're at Voice of the People TV. And on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. So you best want to join this conversation all through. And let's have your voice heard through your comments. So we also would urge you to stay with us because we have so much to serve you this morning. Somehow, the protest is being relaxed from what we hear from some quarters. And we don't know as it stands if it's a national decision.
Oh, well, that's why we have our correspondents on the streets. They will be feeding us with information. Right. Well, from what we heard this morning, there would be no convergence at the Gani Fawahimi Freedom Park at Ojota. That's the information we're getting. But we have our correspondents on the streets of Lagos to let us know what's happening. And will there be a convergence at Alausa? We wait to see. Around Nigeria, we also will be keeping our eyes on this one. It's just a few minutes past 7, and usually the protest commences at about 8 a.m. So yes, we'll wait to see if the northern part of Nigeria will continue the protest. The president of Nigeria did say, "I hear you loud and clear," but Nigerians are asking, did he really hear Nigerians? Is he listening really? Well, that's a question on the lips of some Nigerians. And if you want to be part of the show, let's let you into how you can be part of the show. Go to YouTube, click on the search for Voice of the People TV. But if you're watching us already, then that's just where you are. So just click on the subscribe button and click on notification so you get to be part of every show that comes up right here. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. On other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. All right. Letting you into what we'll be talking about today. Protesters waving Russian flags, committing treason. That's according to Defense Chief. Fina.
Also, IPOB asks for referendum, says Igbo ready to exit Nigeria. And this actually come after some people have decided to say that they will start another one, which is a hashtag Igbo must go. Imagine what a word. And we are here in Nigeria.
We'll be looking at that one later.
Yes, we have to. All right, just before we actually go into this conversation proper, I want you to stay with us. National Daily is talking about this morning. We'll bring it down to you also. Stay with us.
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered. Showing from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Audio Jungle.
So here we go. So the papers, well.
Yeah, and we have so many, papers before us. This morning we have the Punch, we have the Guardian, we have the Vanguard, the Daily Independent, and we have also the Daily Trust newspaper. And I would like to start with the Punch newspaper, like Masana Chokafo will say, take a punch from the Punch. And the bottom headline there this morning reads, hunger protest, military talks tough as pro-Russian rallies spread. And that's on page 2. And we have riders to be DHQ, that's the first headquarter, Horns protest sponsors. The governors summon emergency security meeting. Russia disown protesters. Police arrest over 30. More northern states declare curfew. Above the nameplate, why fuel importers will frustrate Dangote, and that is according to Obasanjo. If you're interested in knowing why that will happen, just get to page 19 of the Punch newspaper and then read through. Fuel queues to clear as loading resumes at depot. That's on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. Blackouts as national grid collapse again. Nigerians are paying high electricity hike fee, and yet we keep on hearing about national grid collapse. This is the 7th time in 2024, and this is just, the 8th month of the year. Okay, beside the nameplate, we have another headline that reads, Kyari fate divides rep. Kyari's fate divides rep. That is on page 25 of the Punch newspaper. And then we'll have a pictorial of people who are protesting. Yes, that is what you have there, the major pictorial there. First is that of Bangladesh, where protesters stormed the Prime Minister's home that led to the fleeing of the leader of the land. And beside that, we have United Kingdom, and we have also Nigeria, who are actually protesting for hunger, and that is on hashtag End Bad Governance. And beneath that picture, I have another headline that reads, Protest rocks Nigeria, Bangladesh, and United Kingdom. FG asks workers to register for 40,000 naira rise. FG asks workers to register for 40,000 naira rice. You can get that on page 27. 40,000 naira bag of rice. So workers should register for them to be able to get that. So you have to enroll. Okay. And then we have another headline that reads, Lagos chief's murder, DPP indicts police inspector. Lagos chief's murder, DPP indicts police inspector. And that is on page 4 and page 5 of the Punch newspaper. And the last but not the least of the headlines on the cover page of the Punch this morning reads, riots, Nigeria, Indonesia, Australia warn citizens about travel to UK. Riots, Nigeria, Indonesia, Australia warn citizens about travel to UK. And these are the headlines that we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. And quite interesting one. They have so many interesting headlines. And we have Chukuma Okoro joining us virtually to help, x-ray this The stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper and other national dailies. Good morning to you, Mr. Chukwuma Okoro. All right, don't worry, we'll soon get to you. Chukwuma Okoro is a journalist and also a public affairs analyst, and he will actually join us. So don't worry, when we get his feedback, we'll be able to, let him join this particular analysis of the national dailies. Why, I want to bite my tongue this morning. What is really happening?
Oh well, we'll wait for Chukwuma to join the conversation. But in the meantime, I could see the protesters there. The young man that we covered at Ojota, Fina said he was wearing diapers. I remember.
What are you going to look? Well, see, okay, look at him.
The man was really lamenting.
With pot on his neck.
He's like, yes, the pot signifying hunger. And, he did say that he's a graduate and he's not been able to secure a job. And that's the story of a lot of Nigerians, really.
Exactly.
A lot of Nigerian youths are going through basically the same thing.
Right.
You find a way to go through school, and then at the end of the day, you don't have a job. But now, there was a time in this country where, what is the major essence of CWES? The IT internship. The major essence of it is so that you have work experience, right?
Yes.
And in as much as, we know things are a little bit tough, it's a lot better when people find a way to do something to earn a living aside waiting for white-collar jobs.
So more like being self-employed with some skills, basically.
Yes. Now, the question one would ask is, are our institutions imbibing skills in graduates, in young people, in undergraduates?
Right.
Are they getting skills? Are there things that they are learning that will empower them? I know a few people that when they were going through school, they were selling a thing or two. I have a friend when she was at the University of Lagos. She would go to school with clothing.
Right.
She will go to my 2 or thereabout somewhere, buy clothing and sell to her classmates.
Just to make sure
just
that
to
she
make
got
a little
money.
living. Just to make a little living. And immediately she came out of school, she got into business. But a lot of young people go through school. I mean, a lot of us went through school without thinking the business. And one starts to wonder, what is the essence of the education really? Come out of school and then you get to work for someone who didn't even go to school.
I mean, these are part of what, the young man that our correspondent did interview yesterday. These are part of the things he lamented on. And several of them during this protest. Because, in fact, the one that touched me most is one of the protesters who did say that he's a graduate, he doesn't have a job, and he cannot steal.
Yeah.
He cannot go robbing.
Does he have that option?
That looks like an option. But for him, he said he cannot do it.
Oh, well.
Quite an unfortunate one, really. And, interestingly as well, this protest going on across the globe is quite interesting. I saw that of Hull City in UK yesterday, and I just did say to myself that whatever be the agitation, I think it's best that government of the now have a sit down with every single citizen, maybe via a broadcast that will talk about the situation they are clamoring for. I mean,
I got a message, a WhatsApp message from a group of Nigerians in the UK. I think they call themselves concerned Africans in the UK. It's Kanuk, concerned Association of Nigerians. Yes, Concerned Association of Nigerians in the UK.
Okay.
Kanuk, and they sent out an advisory that people should avoid certain places, be watchful because of, I was just, in my head, I was like, okay, if the government of Nigeria comes to say, look, Nigerians in the UK, come back home because of the riots going on over there, come home, go to the Nigerian embassy. Let's facilitate your return home. Do you think Nigerians will want to come home?
Where are they coming home to? To a place again where I'm actually protesting.
I'm sure Nigerians say, now, come home to where? Oh, well, we have joining us Chukwuma Okoro. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Moses. Good morning, Fina. Good
morning. To have you.
Good morning.
Good to have you. Well,
thanks for having me.
I'm pretty sure you missed out on the paper that Fina read, but let me quickly take you through another daily now. Let's have the Guardian newspaper now. The banner headline on the Guardian, I'd like your response to that one. FG prioritizes NAS, State House spendings amid MDA's funding crisis. That's the banner headline. That one can be found on page 6. And then there's a breakdown. There's a breakdown of that headline. It says, widening gap between expenditure and revenue nears crisis level, leaving FG with a spending shortfall of over 50% in H1 2024. Nigeria's oil commitments versus average production volume. We have, commitment to local refineries, 450,000 barrels per day. Oil production, 1.3 million barrels per day, estimated. Oil-backed loan commitment, 280,000 barrels per day, estimated. JV partners, 364,000 barrels per day. Direct sales, direct purchase deal commitment, 140,000 barrels per day. And then beside that one, we have released funds in H1. National Assembly, 86.2 billion. President's Air Fleet, 13.86 billion naira. State House, 40.5 billion naira. Total released funds to MDAs in H1, 9.53 trillion naira. Total funds for MDAs in 2024, 38.8 trillion naira. And, let me just take the other headlines and then come back to you and take your thoughts on that one. The other headlines here. Reps dissolve panel probing allegations of dirty fuel. Blame negative media coverage. It's our fault. EFCC warns council chairman against mismanagement. Military vows crackdown over treasonous use of Russian flags as protest. How FG oil majors sacrificed, privatized Niger Delta, others for profit. Protesters defy Tinubu's plea. Continue demonstration in Rivers. U.S. may become largest crude supplier to Nigerian refineries years after it stopped buying. INEC registers fresh 177,914 voters for Ondo Edo polls. All right, these are the headlines from the Guardian newspaper. What say ye?
Moses, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, sorry, I would like for you to scroll down. Again, I want to read the major headline.
All right, should I take you through the major headline again?
No, the major headline, the major.
All right, the banner headline.
The banner headline there is...
The banner headline, yes.
FG prioritizes NAS State House spendings amid MDA's funding crisis. That's the banner headline.
That's good. I've picked it because I really wanted to take on that first. You see, what people have been talking about about the budget implementation. About budget implementation, I think it has eminently come to the fore. So there is now a mismatch of income and expenditure to the point that the federal government has to start prioritizing. And what does prioritizing mean? In the first instance, your budget also is a statement of your priorities. The budget implementation is a statement of your priorities based on your income and your expenditure. Now that there is this cash crunch, what apparently happens is that the federal government has come out to say that they are going to prioritize on their spending between MDAs. Apparently, what they are telling you is that some MDAs are more important or will actually get more attention than others.
And this is coming at a time when we are talking about collapsing MDAs. Don't you think that would have been a better option?
The government, it's also a mismatch of policies and intentions and outcomes. You are trying to implement a report that says collapse MDAs. And in one breath, you are also trying to create a full-blown ministry.
Is that report even seeing the light of the day?
Come again, David.
Is the implementation of that report seeing the light of the day from the body language of this administration?
You see, I think we are saying almost the same thing. You know, intentions and outcomes. Like the other day I said, the best intentions doesn't give you the best outcomes. Because once there's a faulty implementation mode, you don't get your intentions right. Because the outcomes will not be very correct. That's exactly what is happening to us. So even the people that are saddled with the implementation of the Orochanya report, we've not heard anything about it again. We've not heard that this ministry or this MD has been collapsed, or that the staff of this particular agency have been transferred to the others and their functions handed over to the other one. And now we are talking about prioritizing funding. And in the midst of prioritizing this funding, look at the amount of money that the National Assembly, the presidency, and the State House are receiving in the midst of this cash crunch. And I begin to ask, what exactly is the difference between the State House and the presidency? I'm not very clear on that. I think the State House is more like the secretariat, the office of the secretary to the federation. That's the way I understand it. Then the presidency is the office of the president itself. Why are they not able to harmonize their operations? Because they are housed and located in one environment. So why all these divisions? And look at the figures that have been given to them. At the end of the day now, a ministry like the Ministry of Health, a ministry like the Ministry of Education will, at the end of the day, get the short end of the stick. I stumbled on you guys talking about the kind of education that we have. Graduates telling you that they don't have jobs. At this point in time, is that what we should be talking about? Because the education system made it that, look, you have what we call the 6334 level of education. And the 6334 makes it mandatory for you to acquire vocational skills. These vocational skills are supposed to, you get trained in one vocational skill or the other, so that by the time you are a graduate, you are able to fit into the economy without having to rely on the government for white-collar jobs. Is it not discomforting that we have to import masons, tilers, roofers from neighboring countries? Countries like Benin Republic, countries like Ghana, countries like Togo. This is what is happening because our education is not hands-on. We just churn out people. Even the polytechnic education that was meant to produce mid-level managers is not doing that. Everybody is kowtowing to the degree level so that you can wear tie and stay in the offices. That is not the way to go. So in a whole lot of this, I think we still boils down to, the whole thing goes back to the government cutting down on the cost of governance, prioritizing.
All right. Mr. Chukwuma, I have another headline that I would like you to react to. Where the Reps Dissolve panel, a probing allegation of dirty fuel, blames negative media coverage. And we have another one that says, how FG oil majors sacrifice privatized Niger Delta orders to profit. What is really happening in the oil sector?
Just laughed. You are dissolving a committee because it's getting negative publicity. Is that the appropriate thing to do? Why couldn't you just shield that committee? Cut out, if you were letting in media people, if you were letting in the press into the system of the committee, why don't you just cut it out, cut them out, and do closed door meetings, closed door investigations, and all of that. The resolution of that committee tells you that the committee was actually heading to something. They are headed somewhere that will have probably exposed another level of rot in the oil industry. Another level of rot discovered by the Dangote end of it. And they quickly dissolved it, and they are going to reconstitute a fresh one.
So in all of this,
where are they going to get the members of the committee from? Is it from outside the National Assembly?
In all of this, what and how does this now speak to transparency when it comes to governance, even from the reps? We're not even talking the presidency, even from the representatives of the people. Where and what does that speak of transparency in governance?
David, if you talk about transparency, it also tells you that we have NATI, what we call NATI, Nigerian Transparency Exploration Transparency International. NATI has done a very good job as far as the oil industry is concerned. But I'm thinking that from what is happening, some people are no longer comfortable with NATI. We had a couple of eggheads, good guys, media men. Olusegun Adeniyi was a member of NATI. One of that guy, two other guys from this day were members of NATI, and they did a very good job of it, and in exposing the rot in the oil industry, and not just exposing, but giving directives about the way forward. But most times they were ignored. So if you're talking about transparency, we all know that the operations of the NNPCL is very opaque. The operations of the oil industry itself is very opaque. And we didn't know about all these things until Dangote had to squeal. And in the midst of this squeal, look at how they are trying to cover up the mess again. So it boils down to the whole issue of lack of transparency in the oil industry.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Finish your thoughts.
Okay, they tell you they have liberalized. They tell you they have restructured. But at the end of the day, we still have an NNPCL that is running like a monolith. It's still a monolith.
All right.
The NNPC is still a monolith. It's still not a private organization that is supposed to make profit for us.
All
and
right.
on the other headline about how the oil industries have been profiting from Niger Delta. You see, and I get worried when people like Asari Dokubo, people like Godswill Akpabio, who was chairman, who was a
NDDC.
minister of, no, he wasn't chairman of NDDC. He was minister of Niger Delta. FINA, as at last count, I think in 2023, budget, budget,
yeah.
the the private independent agency that collects documents and data about fiscal and monetary expenditure across board in Nigerian economy. Budget came out to say that NDDC has received in excess of 25 trillion naira in the past 15 years or so. In the midst of that, the Niger Delta area is still the poorest part of the South. Those monies are not accounted for. People that work in NDDC fritter these monies. Look at the Ogoni cleanup. Look at the road that is going on there. And in all of this, the people are coming to support this government.
But they were given 50,000 naira to 10,000 youths in Niger Delta just last week or thereabout.
Yes, you give 50,000 naira to 10,000 people in a population of how many people?
There was also an amnesty program also that also took place in Niger Delta.
Tina, I was part of those who was against the amnesty program right from the days of Yaradua, and I did put out several articles against it. At a point, I was branded an anti-Niger Delta fellow, despite the fact that I also come from an NDDC state. I'm from Abia State. I have parts of my community that produce, parts of my state that produce oil.
Okay.
Amnesty wasn't a good program. You just criminalize the people and turn out to give them handouts. That wasn't the right way to go. And what has happened at the end of the day? Did it solve the problem in the Niger Delta? It apparently did not. So let's not even go into amnesty program. But what I'm saying is that the oil industry, the indigenous of the oil industry have even helped the oil corporations, the IOCs, to shortchange them.
All right,
That's the
then.
problem.
All right, then. Unfortunately,
to Ogoni people.
Unfortunately,
sorry, Moses.
Okay.
They gave contracts to Ogoni people to clean up the mess. Shell, that was the major culprit, brought I think it was 1 billion naira that was meant for that job. Shell brought 900 million naira. As at the time, when Data5 released this report, the federal government had not paid its own counterpart fund of 100 million naira. But that's not part of the story. The part of the story is that sons and daughters of Ogoni land were given contracts. They pocketed these monies, went to Abuja, went to Asokoro, went to choice parts of Victoria Island, and bought houses with these monies.
All right. Unfortunately, we can. There's a lot to discuss in this area, but let's get into our major conversation this morning, if you would not mind. Now let's move away from the papers now. We'll take a little break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Dixon Omodiale Osagie, as we'll be talking about protesters waving the Russian flag, committing treason. That's according to Defense Chief. Let's have this conversation when we come back.
Thank you for staying with us. It's still VOP this morning on Voice of the People Television. Moving into the conversation proper, the Nigerian military announced that individuals flying Russia flags during nationwide protests are committing treason and will be prosecuted. They are investigating and will take serious action against those instigating these actions. The Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa emphasized this after a National Security Council meeting chaired by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Remember that some protesters in Kano and Kaduna State were seen waving Russian flags and chanting against the government. And this is not just the first time. Some time ago, we have some Ariwa youth also burning the Nigerian flag to show how aggrieved they are over the issue of hunger. And this has raised concern among former envoys and ex-military officers. Russia has been linked to unconstitutional changes in several West African countries. The defense chief noted that many of these waving flags are children and they are being influenced by sponsors, and serious actions will be taken against those as sponsors. As the case may be, the president has also directed strict measures to maintain peace and prevent the display of foreign flags in Nigeria. Although Russia has come out to disassociate itself or themselves from the flags being used in Nigeria, they said they didn't call for any of that to happen, and they are not even sponsoring the people who are waving their flag. But we also know that somewhere in Mali yesterday, the Malians woke up to say they don't want Ukraine again over the fact that they have been causing one or two happening. Is it that Africans now are beginning to run to the east for economic help and all that? I don't know, but we have joining us to make sense of this one. This morning we have Mr. Dixon Omodiale Osagie, the security expert. And also we have Chukuma Okoro, a journalist and a public affairs analyst, to help x-ray the issue happening in Nigeria as regards the protests and protesters waving Russia flag. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Phil.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, good to have you, Mr. Dixon. How are you doing this morning?
We're fine. If you're fine, we're fine.
We are. We'll continue to be.
Let me quickly come to you on this one now. with the Russian flag being flown in Nigeria, shouldn't we be worried? Dixon, please. Well, unfortunately, we're having a problem with the audio. We cannot hear
Question
you.
for me?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, we
it
can
is.
now.
Yeah. Why should I be worried? Sometimes we need to understand that some.
Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can hear you.
yes.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
We saw the video moving around, and we could see that even the federal government of Nigeria, they're in a state of fear. Russia is a threat to democracy worldwide. We all understand that. We've seen how they've tactically maneuvered some countries, to be on their side, because they fully understand that the ongoing war between them and Ukraine is putting them in a negative limelight, and also one or two African countries have, tried to, take a departure from democracy, and most times, like one or two African countries, like Niger, for example, we've seen how some of those people were waving Russian flags, calling for Russia interference, So what I can say in the area of the flag being flown in Kano Municipal yesterday, I think these guys, perhaps, because the guy I saw on camera, I don't think he knows the color of Russian flags. So I think someone must have, instigated him or instigated them, and also perhaps financially motivated them to, print those, manufacture, produce those flags, so that they can use it and carry out rally within the Kano city or Kano town, and put the Nigerian government in a state of fear. Security is systematic.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you want to put the government in a state of fear is to cause for us. When you put someone in a state of fear, security has been defeated. So I was surprised the three service chief, went to see the president yesterday with speed and momentum.
Yes,
and
I was going to come to that, Mr. Dixon. Sorry to cut your line of thought. I was going to come to that as well. Yesterday, there was an emergency meeting with the president and the service chiefs. And what came out of that meeting is yet to be known to the public. But the defense chief is coming out clearly to state that that particular act is treasonable. Now, by the law, I haven't seen anything close to that. But then maybe as a security expert, maybe you help us make sense of it. Is that anything close to a treasonable felony in any way?
Yeah. You're correct. Fantastic.
All right. We're having issues with the quality of the audio. We probably will move away, go to Chukwuma now, and then come back in hope that the audio would have been fixed. It's so unfortunate. We would have loved to hear your response to that question asked by David. But let's go over to Chukwuma Okoro now, and then we'll come back to you, and you probably the audio would be better, and then we'll have you respond to that question. Well, let's talk to Chukwuma Okoro very quickly.
All right, Mr. Chukwuma, we have been getting waves of protests happening across Africa. First from Kenya to Uganda, now here in Nigeria. It actually sprung up also sometime in Ghana, but it was suppressed. What do you actually think is happening as regards Africa as a continent?
Yeah, Fina, it's very clear that African youths have taken the challenge, to contest bad governance, to oppose autocracy, to oppose misgovernance in all ramifications. It's what I would call a new wave. It's a new wave of democracy, if you don't mind, new wave of democracy, because globally there is this attack on democracies, and there's a resurgence of rogue states. Resurgence of rogue states that is tied appropriately to the resurgence of Russia. Vladimir Putin is using interference, is using global tactics to ensure, that he props up Russia as a global power, away from the USSR. So in all of this, I think the African youths are more inclined to take leadership into their hands. That is why we saw what happened in Kenya, and it's more like trying to have a repeat. In Nigeria, the Ghana's protest didn't quite take off, but the government, I think, was more responsive in trying to address the demands of the youth. Look at what is going on in Bangladesh. Look at the surge, you know. So in the midst of all this, I'm a bit worried that that we don't have to be very dismissive of those that wave the Russian flag, you know, in Kano and Kaduna. Like Dixon did say that the young man or the young people that were waving the flags do not even understand the color or the meaning of what they were holding, which is apparently the Russian flag. I think those people will not be the mastermind. They will not be the mastermind. There are apparently people that are behind them supporting that move. And I do agree with him that these people wanted to, like, even if they don't have the backing of Russia, even if they don't have the backing of Russia, they are able to send a wrong signal to the federal government to sit up. But I also will not say that they don't have...
Why tilt to the east? Why tilt to the Russia? We found out that most of the African nations, especially those who have been colonized by the West, are moving away. Why move to Russia at this point in time?
You know, Fina, it's a very large conversation because there is a descent of the Eastern civilization. Democracy, the West is apparently in decline. Starting from the 1990s and all of that. In fact, the West started declining even long before the fall of communism. Oh. And there's a book, sorry, David.
Go ahead.
Let me put my thoughts through.
Go ahead, please.
Because the decline is apparent. If you look at countries that are apparently doing very well, economically, they are all from the Southeast Asian countries, away from the West. You know, the West is involved in this kind of pervasive, what this man calls permissive cornucopia. Everything, the West has become junk. They throw out everything. America is just interested in pushing out democracy. America, in some places, like in the Middle East, supports instability if it suits their interest. So the West is apparently in the decline, and most countries are looking towards the East, like Russia and China. So I will not be very dismissive of what happened. Look at what Russia did in 2014, 2016, interfering in American elections, what they did in the UK. You know, there's a serious crackdown. They are trying to rewrite the world order. That is what what Russia is trying to do. And Nigeria happens to be a very important country in Africa.
Okay.
Look at what is happening in the Sahel. We have Mali.
Yeah.
We have Guinea. We have Niger. We have Chad. All of them, okay, 3 of them bordering Nigeria. And these are countries that are looking towards the East. And look at what China is doing too. And look at the alliance between Russia and China. So clearly, it's a signal that, look, the West is in decline and Vladimir Putin is clearly resurgent.
All right.
To affect the supremacy or otherwise of the Russian hegemony.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay, now let's take a little video. Let's take that video of protesters chanting, calling for Russia's interference. In fact, there was another video I saw on social media that a protester was saying Tinubu must go. Whether he reverses fuel price or not, he must go. So one starts to wonder, what exactly is going on? Is this the same hunger strike? Or is there something else brewing over there in the northern part of Nigeria? But let's take this video when we come back.
Well, Mr. Dixon, you've seen this video. Going back to the question I asked earlier about
first, before you ask, Fina, were you able to get
some of
the
them
words they were saying?
They were of the opinion that we need help.
That's what they were saying.
We need help.
We need help.
Russia, we need help.
Russia,
we
Nigerians,
but we need help. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's what they were saying in Hausa.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Fina
Mr.
is our in-house interpreter.
no, I'm not. I'm not.
Go ahead.
Okay. So at this point, would you help us make sense of all of this? Because from all indication, the presidency did meet with the service chiefs yesterday. And like I did ask earlier, maybe you help us make sense of it from the military point of view, what a treasonable felony can and should be or is, so that Nigerians also can understand this as well. But then again, I also want to put it back again to the fact that just recently, the DSS did mention that they've uncovered the sponsors of these protests. And some would wonder, if such uncovering is done, how much more insecurity can we have in the north? And there is no identification of who is sponsoring these people. But then, help us make sense of this particular one, the treasonable felony from the defense chief.
Well, I don't think I'll be able to make sense from this because these guys I'm seeing right now from your station, this video I'm watching, I think it's a disturbing one. And I strongly believe that these guys were sponsored, to roll out these flags in order to, send some wrong signal to the Nigerian government or put the Nigerian government in a state of fear, which I believe they tactically have achieved because when the service chief visited the president yesterday, all what came out from their mouth
Oh boy.
All right. I think we have a little network glitch over that, but we would like to have you so that you can tell us what you make of that particular question.
Worry about the NBAD governance.
Right.
And they solely dwell on the protesters flying this flag. But I in practical measures in place.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought. Okay, all right. So for me, I think these guys, the DSS have already gathered one or two information in respect to this. Russia have come out to say that they are not involved or they have nothing to do about it. And I agree with Russia because I've seen sometimes, most especially some terrorists, when they go on strike, they want to pay allegiance to one or two international terrorist group. I think these guys are just trying to form an allegiance with the Russia Federation or somehow,
I guess the network, it's not really smelling on us this morning. All right, I will actually like you to, if you can hear me, we'll actually get back to you. But let's move down to Mr. Chukwuma Okoro. Okay, Mr. Dixon. Can you hear me? All right, can you unmute yourself? All right, please go on. The network actually is not smiling, but anyway, you can go on.
All right, maybe the network is also not smiling to those protesters. So I think the Nigerian government needs to sit up now because what the government should be looking at is that they need to start looking at the causative factors. What led to this end bad governance protest? What are the demands of the people? And also try to understand that they are there to lead us aright and they're not there to brutalize the Nigerian state. Because I will tell you for free, for so long, the Nigerian government has been brutalized and the Nigerian people have been brutalized. And it's so sad that this is coming from our leaders. Because basically, we're suffering from leadership brutality, religious brutality, police brutality, ethnocentric brutality, and unemployment brutality as well. So if we must get this right, my colleague in the studio, Chukwuma, rightly said, most people, once funds get into their hand, they try to, self-aggrandize themselves. They try to,
All right, Mr. Dixon, we'll get back to you. Mr. Chukwuma Okoro, when we look at some of the flags that those people protesting actually have, I'm talking about the Russian flag, some of them have a write-up on it saying we are Nigerians and we need help. Even when some people are shouting enough is enough. Now, bring it back to issue of insecurity in Nigeria, where we have this bedeviling a particular, like let's say all parts of Nigeria now. I wouldn't want to shrink it to a particular point, and we also have the people who have caused serious harm, who have caused loss of property and life to Nigerians, being reintegrated back into the society in the name of repentant Boko Haram terrorists. We'll bring it back again on the point whereby we have the likes of Bodijo, who was being, arrested by the federal government and also taken to court for sponsoring buying of arms for the Fulani herders. He has a case against him. He was denied bail on Tuesday and was decided and acquitted on Thursday. And we have so many other people who are already aggrieved with the way things are being done in the country that have led to so many people or groups calling for cessation. Do you actually think that this could be the reason why we have some parts or some of those people who are protesting now chiming and pulling their own strength to have from the east?
Fina, what they say in intelligence is that the sum total of intelligence is always in excess of, if you put the sum total of intelligence together, it's always in excess. The sum total is always beyond. What that means is that in intelligence, you can never actually get it all, because some of them are speculative, some of them are concrete, because they are received under the cover, under the table. So there's a little bit of a negligent level of accuracy when you talk about intelligence. But again, if I was a policymaker and I see Northerners in a place like Kaduna and Kano waving the Russian flag, I think I would be a little bit more concerned, because ordinarily I'll ask myself, why are they not waving the Iranian flag? Yes, why are they not waving the Iranian flag? And what Russia did, it's a diplomatic thing. You don't expect them to come and accept, oh, we are planning interference, or we want to interfere in Nigerian politics. No diplomat will tell you that. No foreign mission will tell you that. They will never accept. Even when they poisoned Alexis Navalny, that he was rushed to UK, did Russia admit? Russia never admitted. When they interfered in the US elections against Hillary Clinton, did Russia agree? Russia never agreed. That's intelligence. But I'm also more concerned and worried that we don't have intelligence estimates. If we have intelligence estimates, these are documents, gathered by the NIA, which is more like the CIA. They are involved in the external intelligence and counterintelligence. NIA should have known before now if there was going to be an infiltration, external intervention in this protest, as we have seen now. It is not very clear, but it's beginning to show that, look, it's beyond waving of flags. But I'm happy again that the DSS was able to crack it in good time.
When you say NIA should have known, the fact of the matter is that they put that information out there. They did say that the intelligence they had was that certain individuals would hijack the protest, and some of these are politically motivated. They did say that. Now let's look at a few things. A few things that they have revealed so far. The tailors, one of them that has been sewing the Russian flag, has been arrested. We also saw in the papers from the Daily Trust, actually, where protesters they climbed on top of an armored tank. And then in another video I saw on social media, protesters were calling for a military takeover in Nigeria, calling on the military to take over. And Kano State seems to be a hotbed. Now, we talked about this yesterday, if you recall. We talked about this yesterday, about events in Kano and how in Borno State as well, protesters are, the governor did attest to the fact that the protesters are 14 years and under, young people are coming out. Now, Dixon did point to the fact that some of these people may not be aware of what they are doing. And the truth of the matter is they may be sponsored. The president has had an emergency meeting when he was supposed to be having the Federal Executive Council meeting. That one was pushed aside for an emergency meeting. But at this time now, what do you think the government should be doing? What steps should the federal government be taking, seeing that there seems to be, some sort of uprising in the northern part of Nigeria?
Good.
Chukwuma, please.
Moses, before I come to what the federal government should do, I want to address the issue of the NIA or the DSS telling us that some people, they are aware that some people want to hijack the protest. It was a nebulous statement. It was a general statement. They didn't know about this particular track of it. Because if they had known, they would have ensured that the Russian flag did not see the light of the day. So it was a general statement, that politicians make, that security agencies make to dissuade people. If peradventure you are planning anything sinister, when you hear such statements, when they push out such statements, they could cut you in action. So I still say that DSS has done a good job by tracing the tailor, and from the tailor, people that sponsored him to sew the clothes. But again, I insist that the NIA didn't know. If they knew, they would have nipped it in the bud. That said, it's a general. See, this thing is very simple. It is very, very simple. There is hunger in the land. The discontent is very high. People are hungry. There is insecurity in the land. Moses, for how long are we going to talk about these things? What the government needs to do is to respond fundamentally, maximally. When I say maximally, I mean what they are planning short-term gaps to close this problem, like distributing palliatives, distributing grains and bags of rice. In the long term, which is the maximalist approach, get to the root cause. What is the root cause of the hunger in the land? Hunger alone. The root cause is that, one, the economy is not productive, coupled with the fact that farmers are not going to farm again. The inflation we have is 80% food inflation. And a hungry man is an angry man. There's an uprising and it is gathering. What the government needs to do is address it. And how do you address it? The federal government, the president has come out to say, no going back on removal of oil subsidy, on fuel subsidy. So where do we go from here?
All right.
The price of fuel is still on the increase. So apparently the federal government is more interested in protecting the regime because we have not seen them reel out the foundational measures, the policy initiatives that in the long term, in the next 2 or 3 years, in the next 1, 2 or 3 years, that is going to rejig the economy, make it rebound, and become, put income in the hands of Nigerians.
It's quite interesting.
There is still, David, above all, there is still high cost of governance. The government has not cut down on the cost of governance. They are still living profligately. National Assembly, the ministers, everybody. And they're asking us to sacrifice. That is why Nigerians are angry.
We'll take some of those videos now of Nigerians lamenting. But I am particularly troubled at the fact that in Kano State, the Kano State judiciary have come out to complain that some of the weapons, exhibits that were stored at the courthouse, guns and other things, were looted. And one starts to wonder, has this gone from hunger strike to something else? Because if you're hungry, would you be looting guns? Would you be looting weapons that were kept as exhibits? Or would you be looting warehouses where food is, where food items can be located? It's becoming a little bit dicey. But let's listen to these responses from Nigerians that went out to protest, and then we'll come back. And I do hope that when we do come back, the network will allow Dixon Omodiale to tell us a few things in this regard. Let's take the videos. We'll be back in a bit.
come on the air to say trash. As far as I'm concerned, Tinubu has not said anything tangible that will make us, the Protestants, withdraw from our protest.
So what are your agitations at the moment?
Okay, we expect him to at least bring down the fuel price. The standard of living, he should bring it down as usual so that the poor masses can also live life to their taste. Right now, I could tell you that even the rich masses in this country, they still have one or two ways that the economy has affected them. As you can see, I have my pot here, which symbolizes hunger. Hunger won't kill me, okay? Look my certificate, do look my this thing well, not be fake. I'm a graduate of Imo State University, look at it very well. This is when I served. I just passed that last 2 months and I've been looking for job back to back. There is nothing to show for it, sir. It is painful. Let Tinubu do the needful. Let him create good platform for good job opportunities so that the criminal acts in this country can reduce.
So he wants the government to create good job opportunities so that the good opportunities.
Those are the reactions of protesters, and we're really we have to bring this to you so that you understand where.
Well, that is one protester who's protesting hunger.
I mean,
but
quite a number.
What we're talking about in the north is it hunger now?
Now,
well,
the defense chief also did mention that if this kind of protest continues, it might lead to coup. Mr. Dixon, at this point, I want you to react to this as well. Do you share this sentiment as well? But also juxtaposing it with the fact that the presidency did call the service chiefs yesterday, and of course to talk security matters on the ongoing protest. Whereas Nigerians and the ones protesting are saying that all of the demands that they ask for is not being talked about. How do we juxtapose this with the reality of what the Nigerian people faces at this time?
Well, for me, I think you also know the answer to your questions. I love journalists. When we cry, you guys pretend not to cry. We're all crying, and everybody is going through the pain here in Nigeria. And I tell you the truth that things are not going right in the Nigerian territorial space. Like my brother in the studio rightly said, your co-anchor, he was talking about, is it hunger that might have led to the protests in Kano State? You see, hunger can lead to anything. It can lead to war. And that is the truth. Hunger can lead to a conflict, can lead to, disruption of governance. So, we need to understand one thing, when we talk about leadership brutality, Nigeria is a clear example of leadership brutality. And our people have been brutalized for so long. Look at the hike in purchasing fuel. Look at the price hike in purchasing food produce from the market. Things are not going proper. Things are not going right. And I strongly believe that we should, as a government, try to...
Okay. Well, I do believe there was an interruption there. Well, if we can continue the conversation, we'll be glad. Mr. Dixon, if you're still with us.
Apologies, I think there was an interruption and I don't know how this come about because
Go ahead.
a call came in. I apologize for that. So now let us understand one thing, that we have a country to build, and this country is Nigeria. And it starts from the leaders, If we have good leadership in this country, I don't think we'll be where we are today. I was born and bred in the North, and I understand the plight of these northern people. I just came back from the North some few weeks ago, and poverty is the order of the day. Hunger is the order of the day. See a lot of children on the street out there, crying for help, looking for food to eat. And I've said this on many fora. A hungry child on the street is a potential threat to the government. When you look at these protesters, most especially those guys carrying the Russian flag, I tell you, none of them, you see any of these are political leaders' children, they are not there. Most of these allied children, they are not there. These are children of the poor, children of mostly of the poor, if I may use the word correctly, and children that are out of school, or some of them are still, struggling to survive. So it is in the hands of the government to restore this country, Nigeria. And it's very simple. Because if we want to start getting things right, the government should start looking at rolling out economic policy, rolling out social policies, unemployment policies, and a lot of policies that will address the situation of this country. When England went to war, after the End War II, in 1945 or so, England was in a total state of mess. Nothing was working. But what happened? The United Kingdom appointed just one man and his team, Sir Beveridge, to bring out policies, to roll out policies that will restore England, because England was one of the worst hits during the World War, both economically. They lost a lot of soldiers and people during the World War II. So Sir Beveridge came out with a policy, and this policy has been the policy to date. This policy has been is being used in the United Kingdom, and things are going on well in the United Kingdom. So we need people on board to come and roll out policies for the government, people that are well informed, people that are well equipped, people that are well educated, that will roll out policies that will address the need of the people, because the only essence of governance is to take care of the people, to take our country to glorious life. For me, I think we will get there.
I'm gonna sit there with you, Mr. Dixon. I like the fact that you did mention that we need men on board who will roll out policies, and policies that will translate to Nigerians having it better. But then, I still want to stay with what the defense chief did mention yesterday. He did mention that protesters have crossed the line. And interestingly, that is a major statement when it comes to defending the territory of Nigeria. But then, the question would be, is the meeting with the presidency tilted to that direction, that the military should handle these protesters in their way? Because let's also put this out there. This morning, while some of our colleagues were coming into the studio, they found out that somewhere in Lagos, several of the military personnel roaming around the streets of Lagos. Is this another directive to just clamp down on the protesters fully and not allow them have their civil rights, which is the act of protesting?
Yes, correct. Excellent question. I think the government are making a big mistake. Sometimes when you stop a child to cry, this child will cry something next time. For example, my daughter was crying some few days ago, and she was disturbing me. Just like what is happening now, the protest is disturbing the government. So what the government is trying to do, like what I did to my daughter, was to have closed up her mouth. And immediately I brought out my mouth, she busted out, cry more. So what the government is doing is that they are shutting down the mouth of Nigerians, and Nigerians will cry again next time. When you stop someone from crying today, or you stop Nigerians from crying out their grievances or their pain, they will definitely cry next time, and you're not solving the problem. Now we're talking about solution-based. Now, what should the government be doing? Pinpoint what these guys needed. What is the needs of this NSTARS? What's it called? End bad governance. Address those needs. And the needs of this end bad governance were not addressed by the president. I was happy the night when I heard Chief Agili broadcast that the president will be addressing us, and I was thinking he will come out and say, hey, first price is going to go down, XYZ food produce is going to go down. But he was, throwing out threats that the protests have to stop and everything. And I've truly realized or observed that sometimes when protests is about going on in this country, our leaders try to be systematic and, project some form of, tactical disposition to ensure that protest does not go on. Listen, protest is an avenue for us to, good protest, quote unquote, it's a feedback. It's an avenue to give the government feedback. And government must see good protest as an avenue of feedback so that they will be able to address the need of the people. But if you stop them from crying, they will cry next time. So let them cry their cry peacefully.
All right then. All right then.
I would actually like to understand from your end as a security expert, where do you see this whole thing going to? People are calling for a country in the East to come help them. Some other people are calling for military to take over. And then some other people are also seeking a way to secede, to leave Nigeria. Now, where do you see us get to as a nation?
It's putting us in a negative light in the international community. Fantastic question, my sister. You see, in 1999, when I was still in the military, in 1999, when we handed over powers to democracy, I think during the parade, I was one of those soldiers in the parade ground. Then I was in Cross River State. Do you know, immediately we get to the town in Cross River State, a place called Ecom Local Government. The civilians were yelling at us, go back to the barrack, go back to the barrack. They were harassing us, embarrassing us, go back to the barrack. So when I saw them calling for military takeover, I'm in shock that you once said we should go back to the barrack. And the truth is, democracy still remains the best system of government, if only our leaders are ready to be democratic. Because what I see going on in the auspices of Nigeria is that we don't have democrats. We don't have people that are ready to lead this country. We only have people for themselves, their family, and their relatives. Nepotism is the order of the day, you know. When Singapore filed a divorce in 1957 from Malaysia, Malaysia had thought that Singapore would not succeed. But what happened? The Singapore you see today, they build in on MPH acronym, meritocracy, pragmatism, and honesty. And what they said is that this is our country. We need to build this country. Whoever we are bringing into government must have the merits to be there. It must be pragmatic and must be honest. So meritocracy, pragmatism, and honesty brought Singapore to what Singapore is today. So we need leaders that have the merits to be there. We need leaders that are pragmatic, and we need honest leaders. If only we don't want all this nonsense to repeat itself again.
All right, then. This will be
so far, so that you'll be able to resolve the issues.
All right, big thank you, Dixon Osage. This will be a good place to drop anchor. As we delve into another conversation, I'm going to pick you from the divorce part.
Yeah, I actually do that as well.
A certain group of people have come to say, Igbo must go. He should be divorced from being in Lagos. A certain X handle, Twitter handle, I'm struggling with X and Twitter. I think it's for better understanding, Twitter handle. A certain Twitter handle, Lagospedia, made a tweet that hashtag Igbos must go, and that one is supposed to comment later this month. Oh well, we're going into that conversation, but we must say a very big thank you to you for staying with us on this one. I do understand that you might have to leave us at this time, but it would have been glad to have you stay for the next conversation. So thank you very much for joining this conversation. And we must say a very big thank you also to Chukwuma Okoro, and would like you to stay with us as we go into the other conversation. So IPOB asked for referendum, says Igbo ready to exit Nigeria. That's the conversation we'll be having in a bit. And when we do come back, we'll be joined by Olufemi Lawson and, of course, Chukwuma Okoro.
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day.
Can we get to meet you? What's your name?
My name is Udo Wisdom.
Thank you so much. So you are holding this placard, End Attack on Free Press. But before you talk about this placard, why are you here for the protest?
I'm here to end bad government. The surveillance is too much. We're hungry. We not visit down inside and die hunger. Telling us not to come outside and protest. No. What we are asking for is bring down the price of the fuel.
So how has the election, how has the economic crisis, how has it affected you?
Has it affected me in any way? I may be firstborn for my family. My father don't die. So I have to, my mother in Lagos, my elder brother, my junior brother, my sister, I'm the one taking care of them. How much am I earning? 30,000 for salary. Okay, I'm working 2 times. I work day, I work night. Let me say maybe at the end 60,000 naira. I have to take care of myself. Look at my dress. I'm dressing like a madman. Like a madman. My senior brother went to university. After university, he's driving bike in the street now. Where is it for?
So what do you want the government to address?
That should bring down price of. They know what they're supposed to do. If you don't know his work, you should come down for that place. Please. You should come down for that place. You cannot bring down fuel. If you don't know his work, you should come down for that place. He's a disgrace. Look at the president telling us to come out today, and we are coming out. He's a fool. Please, you should come down. If you don't know what he's doing, if you don't know his work, you should leave the office.
All right, thank you so much. All those opinions are his and has nothing to do with Voice of the People TV.
You were asking what the president should do. It's very easy. We have 22 demands out there. It's all over the social media. It is achievable. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, during his inauguration in 2023, May 29, when he said that subsidy is gone, nobody called him to order. He never called for a meeting, but he said subsidy is gone. Within an hour, Nigeria was on fire.
All right, welcome back. It is still VOP this morning, right here on Voice of the People Television. Well, let's quickly get into the second conversation. Interestingly, the leadership of the indigenous people of Biafra criticized the facilitators of the Igbo Must Go campaign in the southeast, calling for a referendum for the Igbo to exit Nigeria. IPOB mocked the authorities in the southwest, I beg your pardon, for not taking the campaign seriously and claimed high-profile individuals in Lagos State and the federal government were sponsoring it. IPOB's Director of Media and Publicity, Ima Powerful, stated that despite the planned Igbo Must Go protest from August 20 to 30th, 2024, the Igbos are ready to leave via a referendum and will not be intimidated. Well, he accused the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, of hypocritically condemning the protest while profiling and targeting Igbo businesses. Powerful emphasized that the Igbos are prepared to exit Nigeria peacefully, but warned of potential hostility if forced to leave violently. He concluded that the Igbos are undeterred by threats and have resolved to leave Nigeria. Well, we have with us virtually Mr. Chukwuma Okoro, who is a public affairs analyst and a journalist. And I'm hoping that Mr. Olufemi Lawson is also joined already virtually. He is the Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, and that's a CPA. Well, I'm going to come to you, Mr. Olufemi Lawson. Let's also state this, that the president, during his statement, had also clamped down on that statement. And of course, that includes the Lagos State Governor, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who have also made statements as regarding that particular campaign, disassociating themselves from all of that. And of course, disassociating the state and of course Nigeria as a country from that statement. But of course, you would expect such reactions at this time from the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB state. Well, I call them, they're not really state actors, but then the spokesperson, yes, Ima Powerful, making that statement. But then this is my question. What is the implication of these statements as regarding the economic development that this group of people bring to the nation, Nigeria?
Thank you. Even though some of us do not want to take seriously, that statement, especially when you look at where it came from, but that nonetheless, our previous lessons have taught us that we cannot just overlook, such careless statements and assume that we should move on without addressing it. And I don't think what the government has done, the federal government and Lagos State government, is enough to address that very, terrible, and insensitive, call for the Igbo people to leave this part of this country. That should have also been followed up with very severe, and serious disciplinary measures, including prosecution for such person who has made a call that did not only threatens the life of a group of people, but also threatens national security. Because if anything happens,
to the Igbo people in this part of the country. There would likely be, a reprisal on other tribes too in other parts of the country, including the southeast where they also live. How do you just wake up from the corner of your bedroom and begin to make such very careless and irrational statement? So for me, it's condemnable, but I think the government has not done enough to actually address that issue as it should.
Mr. Lawson, this is not the first time particular people are calling for Igbos to leave. For example, in 2018, there was a call and even a mandate on the 1st of October for Igbos to vacate Kano State. And we also had some people in Nigeria also call for even I think just last month that a cleric was calling for the death of the First Lady of Nigeria. Why do you think that, stiffer penalties have not really been taken on people who are making such declaration or statements in Nigeria?
Why we have continued to have such characters, making such kind of statements till date, to the recent one, is because we have not been able as a country to deal with perpetrators, to deal with people who instigate violence under the guise of their ethnic bias.
So you have the opinion that we are running a separated democracy, or are we running a system of government that is not really for everyone?
No, it should be for everyone. But even in the best of democracies, there will always be characters who threatens the stability of the state. It is not the duty of the state to impose sanction on those characters and let every other person know that he cannot continue to make such careless statement and get away with it. It has gotten to the point that, just like you mentioned, that even a whole wife of the president has been threatened because of her religious bias, by one unknown person from somewhere. So these are the issues. But once we begin to criminalize such behavior and begin to let perpetrators pay dearly for it, we may wake up tomorrow and find another drunken person calling for this kind of making this kind of careless call rather, and he will also get away with it.
Interesting. Now, Mr. Chukwuma, I'm going to come to you almost immediately. As it stands, it's been reported by media at this point that the southeastern states did not fully participate in this protest. And of course, the reason is not far-fetched. They've been told not to get involved, so it doesn't look like that ethnic group is trying to topple the government by any kind of means. But then, looking at this statement, what do you make of it as a person, particularly knowing fully well that Nigeria still battles with so much insecurity? And then it looks more like some persons are trying to play the ethnic card to not particularly looking at the very reason why insecurity is still at the rise.
See, David, this whole issue of Igbo must go, or the call for Igbos to exit Lagos, I don't even know where it is coming from. I don't know where it's coming from. What I mean by I don't know where it's coming from is I don't know the relationship between the protest organized by Nigerians and the call for Igbos to exit Lagos. Where is it coming from? I've said it here before, I've said it elsewhere. The Igbos have been protesting against bad governance for more than 10 years. What is IPOB all about? IPOB is all about we have been marginalized, we have been oppressed, we have been victimized. So give us opportunity. I think you mute Mr. Lawson. Yes. The Igbos have been protesting for a very long time. By 2013, Nnamdi Kanu was not talking about give us Biafra. His agitation was not to create a sovereign state of Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu's agitation was, what do we do to make this country better? What do we do? Let's dialogue. Let's talk to ourselves. The federating units, let's talk to ourselves. That was his platform. That was what he was saying. It was when Buhari came and started implementing nepotistic sectional policies against the Southeast that Nnamdi now said, oh, no, we can't take this anymore. So the whole issue of Igbo must go, I don't know where it's coming from. But I'm a bit worried, like Mr. Lawson did express, that the president and the governor were not too forceful, they were not assertive in condemning it, and they need to go beyond what they have done.
Okay.
They need to have, somebody needs to be prosecuted.
Okay.
You know, they need to get to the root of the matter. You know why I say this?
Yes.
You know why I say this? It took Sanwo-Olu 5 days to react to that tweet from Lagospedia.
Yeah.
Now, and Igbos are relying on the history of the past. During the last election, the 2023 general election, Bayo Ononuga, as a spokesperson of the APC, made very harmful hate speeches against the Igbos. He said, this is the last time that the Igbos will interfere in the politics of Lagos. In 2027, we don't want to see the Igbos interfere in the politics of Lagos. This man was not censored by the APC.
Okay. This
man turned out to become the spokesperson of the president. This man last week gaslighted P2B and IPOB and reduced the plan in the organization of the protest to IPOB and P2B. And in a country like this, his career has not been damaged. We had one Adeyinka grandson, like 2 or 3 years ago, who also raised this issue of Igbo must go. He made videos. I don't know where he made those videos from, whether in Lagos or in the UK. Do you know that Nigeria didn't do anything, but this young man was sentenced to 4.5 years imprisonment in the UK for doing what? For racially profiling the Igbo Southeast. And the UK said he has the tendency to spark ethnic tension in the Southeast. But this young man went free in Nigeria, but he was sentenced in the UK. So it speaks to the larger context of the conspiracy.
Okay.
Mr. Chukwuma, why do you think we're having this call, Igbo must go now, in some parts of this country, Nigeria?
Fina, I also told you that I don't know where it is coming from. Why?
But now some people are of the opinion that if this call happened to have come from the Southeast, for example, those who are waving the Russian flag, and they have the opinion that Russia should come, that they need help, if that actually has happened in the Southeast, what do you think would have actually been the outcome of that singular event up until now?
Unleashed mayhem on the people that are waving the flags. IPOB, they don't carry arms. What do they carry? They just carry the Biafran flag.
Okay.
They just carry the Biafran flag, and they are more than by security agencies. They do all sorts of military engagements in the Southeast. They say operation this, operation that, operation this, operation that, and kill innocent people, unarmed, armless people who just carry flags.
All right.
But back there in the north, we have terrorists who carry guns, kill Nigerians, kill our security men, destroy police stations, burn down security vehicles, vehicles of militaries, clean up, ethnic cleansing, clean up a whole lot of ethnic people. Yet, these people are arrested. And what do we get? They are reintegrated into the commanding heights of them.
All right, then. Let me.
That is what will have happened.
Okay, let me go back to Olufemi Lawson now, but I would like your response to my question now, Mr. Okoro. So please, I would like to come back to you on this one, but let me have Olufemi's take on this. Now, let's go back in history. First off, let's go back in history. In 1983, we had the Ghana Must Go in Nigeria. You know, the Shagari era, and you know everything that happened. I'm not going to go too deep into that one. Now, very recent history. Obariwa Akiolu of Lagos in 2015 did say that Igbos that refuse to vote for Ambode will be thrown into the lagoon. If you recall, that statement was made. APC came out to dissociate itself from the Oba's statement, but no other, nothing was done to the Oba. He wasn't really called to order. In 2022, Senator Oluremi Tinubu did say, I'm going to pick her quote now from one of the papers. I hope I can get to it very quickly. She's quoted as saying that Igbos in Lagos were proving difficult despite the love shown to them. And we will entreat all the deities in Lagos against Igbos if they continue to prove difficult. That's Senator Oluremi Tinubu, the president's wife. Now, you started by saying that, you know, people like you would want to disregard Lagospedia, the statement. But isn't that speaking deep into the mindset of political office holders, especially from this part of the country? Should the Igbos in Lagos be fearful? Should they be worried? Should they decide to defend themselves at this time, seeing that whoever made that tweet has still not been brought to book? And if nothing is done, the call for chasing Igbos out of Lagos might actually happen.
See, for me, I haven't lived virtually all my life, you know, in Lagos, and I haven't been deeply involved beyond politics in other, you know, strata of the Lagos society, particularly the Southwest. I would want to say that it is only the very naive and unintelligent people, most times, that will want to assume that you know, the Igbo population in Lagos are so insignificant that you can use a tweet to send out of Lagos or the Southwest. This is a group of people who have not only become entrenched in terms of population, but in terms of economy, in terms of you know, assets, you know, and then whatever you may call it, that make up a state. And that is why at no time will any governor or genuine, you know, leader support any call for the Igbo people to leave Lagos or any part of the Southwest. Igbo people have become almost like the lifeline, you know, of the economy of this.
Well, the government may not be supporting, but are there measures being put in place to ensure that whoever is perpetrating this?
Actually, my concern. We have not been dealing with this issue the way it should. We just most times consider them as social media statement, careless statement, and we just move on. And the next person is waiting to make a similar statement. So for me, I think there must be a categorical action.
Okay.
And I think for those of us in the media and the civil society also, I think it is now the time for us to compel government, either by pushing for a law or other measures, to compel government to criminalize, you know, such actions that threatens the, you know, the life of a group of people, that threatens national security, as the case is, because it's not just going to be something that will affect the Igbo people alone eventually.
Okay.
But it could, anybody could be a victim if such hostilities are unleashed on the state.
All right.
I think we must now, as civil society, as media, begin to demand for, because most times government don't just wake up and take actions.
Oh.
We must now begin to demand for actions. Demand for the necessary
unfortunately, we are pressed for time. We are pressed for time, and I would like to get Mr. Okoro's response as well. But now, Mr. Okoro, you do recall that just before the End Bad Governance hunger started, a young man in the northern part of Nigeria made a tweet calling for people to come out and protest, and he was arrested from his house, taken away, or locked up. That was taken seriously. But here we are. Statements like this are not taken seriously. What does this portend, really? But anyway, you had the question I asked earlier. If you want to respond as a historian, let's hear you.
Moses, it's so I did say something about the government not being very assertive, you know, in dealing with these issues. You know, and it becomes worrisome when you look back in history. You know, that was how the Holocaust started. In fact, it took a very long time, you know, from identification, from profiling, from suppression and all of that, you know. And unfortunately, the Jews, even when they were headed into the gas chambers, they didn't know. They didn't know it could happen to them. At the end of the day, Hitler ended up killing like 6 million people. It was things like this that the last genocide in Rwanda.
In Rwanda.
So far
I was going to come to that. Yes.
You know, the Rwandan genocide between the Tutsis and the Hutsis. The Tutsis didn't take it serious. And I will ask everybody, every living person in this country, to go back and watch Hotel Rwanda. That movie is very instructive.
Right. Oh, yes.
You know, you can download it on FX movies. It's there.
Oh, you're not encouraging piracy, please. But just go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know that that's piracy. Yeah. But like Mr. Olufemi said about the government, taking the government into action. I understand that there was a law that was passed against hate speech during the Buhari administration. On top of my head, I can't remember exactly the act, but there is. So probably what we should do is to now fish it out and let people understand that, look, there is a law against hate speech. I keep saying I don't know where this is coming from. The closest friends that I have are Yoruba people. I schooled in the University of Lagos. I worked in Lagos. I did my youth service in Lagos. I lived for more than 20 years in Lagos. Moses, if you're a married man and you let other married men into your bedroom, it shows you the level of closeness. I have people from Lagos who I let into my bedroom in my absence. We are very close. I don't know where this is coming from. And with all sense of modesty, the average Westerner doesn't travel outside the West. They always revolve around the West and probably to the Middle Belt and the North. Moses, Mr. Olufemi, there are tribal Yoruba communities in the Southeast.
So do you think it's as part of inherent hatred?
Sorry, Fina?
Do you think that the whole thing happening now has an inherent hatred on the line regard this call for Igbos must go? Because some Igbos are of the opinion that if you happen to be, you know, in the Southeast, that people are waving this flag and, you know, calling for Russia to come and all that, it should have actually taken the turn it is. So do you actually perceive this to be more like an underlying hatred for the Igbo tribe?
No, Fina, I'll reduce it to two things. One, there is a clear conspiracy by the Nigerian state against the Southeast. We can debate for as long as we like. Anybody can continue to live in self-denial. But there is a clear set conspiracy against the Southeast to push them out of the commanding heights of the economy, to push them out of politics. That is one. Two, it is not outrightly the hate against the Igbos. It has to do with the sociological underpinning of the West, or Lagos, so to say, being more cosmopolitan. You know, it happens in all cosmopolitan cities. Like I did give example the other day. In Abia State, Aba is more like a cosmopolitan city in Abia State. You have people from all subgroups converge in Aba and do business. Now, the indigenes somehow don't measure up with the success of the foreigners or the non-indigenes. So there is this hate about you have come. You know, you have taken our lands. You have built houses. We don't have lands to build on. So that hate is there. It's sociological. You know, it has a sociological underpinning, not just in Nigeria. That was what happened to the Jews in the South, in Austria. That was what happened to them in Germany.
So do you see the words of the Onaburi we stand coming up again on the lips of the Igbos, as the case may be? As you wrap up this conversation.
You know, on Aburi we stand it is a different conversation altogether. If we had stood on Aburi, the Civil War wouldn't have come in the first place. Right. And see, Fina, as an individual, I believe in the unity of this country. The Igbo man, the Yoruba man, the Hausa man, the Ibibio man is better off in a united Nigeria than in one enclave called the Southeast or the Southwest. See, globally, the world is going global. Look at what is happening in Europe. You have 26 countries put together. It's more like a Europe of states, a state of Europe than a Europe. It's more like a state of Europe than Europe of states. The only thing they don't have in common is a sovereignty. They have a common currency. They are borderless. You can move. They have the Schengen. You can move through all the countries of EU with one visa. That is where the world is tending to. So we cannot start to balkanize at this level. Nigeria is a huge market that we can take control of after. It's a huge market. So at this point, we cannot be talking about breaking. What we are asking for, let us restructure this country so that everybody has a sense of belonging, a sense of being Nigerian. Let us build a Nigerian nation. That is what we are asking for.
All right, thank you very much. That will be a good place to anchor it. Thank you very much for your thoughts there. Let's come back to Olufemi Lawson, our Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability. Let's have your parting shots. Now, do we still have Olufemi Lawson? Well, we'd like for you to unmute your microphone because we cannot hear you.
I said I want to align my thoughts with the parting shot of Mr. Chukwuma, that we have a country to build. We are better off as a people together. It's easier for us to become more prosperous as a people together than getting divided along this ethnic, another sentiment that this, people whip up when unnecessary in most cases. So for me, I think we must invest more in building a nation that is prosperous with the inclusion of everybody. We must not compromise the inclusion of any, especially of the major ethnic groups in this country, if we really want to move forward.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Olufemi Lawson, who is the Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, CPA. Thanks for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you once again, Chukwuma Okoro, for staying with us on the program. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll have other segments of the show. We just might be taking your responses from YouTube. So stay with us. We'll be back in a bit. All right, we will be joining our correspondents who are on the streets of Lagos. Well, we do have our correspondents on the streets of Lagos to inform us of the happenings on the street. We hear that the protest isn't taking place exactly in certain parts. But anyway, let's take this business story. A global stock market crash that began on Friday is now impacting the Nigerian exchange, NGX, with MTN Nigeria experiencing significant losses. Midday trading data as of 12:30 p.m. on August 5 showed a 0.27% decline in the NGX All-Share Index, with MTN Nigeria's stock price falling to its lowest level since October 2021 at 179 naira, marking a 5.79% decline. Banking stocks such as Wema Bank and GTCO have also suffered declines of 4.76% and 1%, respectively. Well, that's all the business story that we can take at this time. More much later in the day. Let's take a break. All right, so there we have responses from YouTube. From Angola, I am with Nigerian people. Let us free ourselves from criminal politicians. This government that is destroying people's life must fall down. The problem of African criminal politicians. Well, that's coming from Bantu Kule. Bantu Kule also said, he said the president is too old and slow. He must go. Well, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. How old is Donald Trump, by the way? How old is Joe Biden? Oh, well, you might have to provide answers to those ones. Ebony Matthew says, they seeking help from elsewhere because no hope from the country or government, like seeking asylum in their own country. Nigerian brothers and sisters, we love and stand with you here in the diaspora. And, okay, thank you very much for your responses. Yes, a lot of them, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Just make sure you go over to YouTube. Let the conversation continue right there. You know, drop your message and let's just talk. Let's talk. All right, it's a community. Right here on VOP TV, you have more than a voice. Stay with us. We'll be back in a bit with some entertaining stories.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's still VOP this morning on Voice of the People TV. Moving on to the entertainment segment, comedian Seyi Law has voiced his concerns about the potential creation of state police in Nigeria, warning that it could lead to severe abuse of power by governors. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, Seyi Law suggested that the establishment of state police might enable governors to misuse their authority to an extreme extent. In his words, imagine state police in the hands of some governors. They will personally organize the execution of the president. His comments have actually sparked so much debate, heated debate on the internet, with many Nigerians weighing in on the potential risks and benefits of the state police. People like someone like a Block of Builders says that this is a bad statement and state police is needed for security of the people. Let's not use political manipulation to dampen a needed intervention. And we have Honorable Onoche also chiming his voice on that. He says the day local governments become full autonomous, state police will be the right way to go. And as the case may be, we could also recall that Seyi Law has actually been made the SSA to the governor of Oyo State, Makinde himself. And then he is now talking about the issue of the state policing. Some people are saying, yes, we need it. And he's of the opinion that we don't need it. He said governors will misuse this opportunity and they will even go ahead as far as executing the president. And here, actually, we'll put a pause on the entertainment segment of the show. That's a VOP this morning. But believe me, at 1 p.m. today, you will have more juicy and fluid entertainment story from the Spotlight Show. Stay with us on that. Up next is the sports.
Audio Jungle.
All right, welcome back. Let's just dive to sports. Well, a quick summary. The Tigress will be playing tomorrow, 7 p.m. West African time, against the Olympic champions, the U.S. female basketball team. That, for me, is going to be a major, major fight in the quarterfinals. And then also, yes, Favour Philly and Oboro Dudu. Well, Favour Philly is for the 200 meters athletics event in the Paris 2024 Olympics. She's got into the semifinals first. Hopefully, she gets into the final, while Oboro Dudu also in the wrestling category did, of course, get to the semifinals as well, jumping to making sure that somehow Nigeria would be on the medal table. Thank you so very much for being here. This is about it from all of us right here on VOP this morning. Let's also let you know that our correspondent on the streets will be bringing you inside sounds and, of course, our videos of everything that is happening at the protest ground right there in Ojota in Lagos. That's about it this beautiful morning. Thank you so very much for being here. And we'll say do have a beautiful day ahead. God bless Nigeria.